What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, we're going to talk about the true cost of horsepower. What it actually costs versus what we all think. So let's go. Guys, I'm just saying, we got to be realistic when it comes to horsepower with our Fox bodies. Yeah, they weren't rated very much from the factory. Just a sign of the times back in the day. I mean, back then, a base model get-around car made like 80 horsepower. Now they make like 300. It's just a different time in the world. So obviously, for us to keep up as Fox body guys, we got to mod these things. So what's a guy to do? So, the first obvious choice is a heads cam intake setup, and we look at that as something not very expensive. But here's the problem with a heads cam intake. You don't always take into account everything that goes along with it. Give me a second here. Injectors, push rods, roller rockers. You're gonna bolt stock headers to it if you don't have them already. You need a larger fuel pump. You need all your gaskets. You need to go ahead and install a new timing chain when you're doing all of this work. Throttle body, EGR spacer, mass air meter. You're gonna run the stock air intake with that? Probably not. So when we discuss a basic heads cam intake package and talk about that as budget, it's really not the case. So what I did is I went to LMR, which is where most of us buy our Fox body parts, and I put in my basket everything that you would need to finish a heads cam intake install, get it running and all of that. That doesn't include having it tuned, anything else, just the heads cam intake. Let's check that out. All right, so this is what I did. I put together everything you're gonna need for your top end kit. Now we're gonna start with fuel. Got a in-tank pump, 255. You got 24-pound injectors. Got to have a mass air meter. You got a 70mm throttle body and EGR spacer. Intake. Camshaft. Now, you probably want to run a better one, but this is the cheapest one they had. So, we just went with an E303. You're going to need lifters. You don't want to put new cam and all of that on old lifters. You're going to need gaskets for the entire engine because you're going to be in the whole thing. You need to go ahead and replace your timing chain while you're in there. You're going to need to put a decent set of new head bolts to fasten down your pretty new heads. You're going to need push rods, roller rockers, and then of course your cylinder heads. Now, this price can vary somewhat on different things that you use as far as your intake and your heads, but this is what was in stock, and so we rolled with it. So you're going to be right about $4,500. That's not tax, that's not shipping, that's none of that, and that's also not anything that might break or you might find already broken when you're doing it. So if you do all the work yourself and nothing breaks, everything goes completely as planned, you're going to be about $5,000, give or take. Alright guys, so actually the price is quite a bit higher than we have in our minds. And prices in 2023 are absolutely crazy. The days of getting $300 intakes and $950 sets of heads and $200 cams are long gone. That was, God, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. We'll just say 5 years ago. So the prices are extremely inflated. So let's go a little step farther. Once you have your heads cam intake, all of that bolted on, you've paid all that money, and you're good to go, then what? I'll tell you then what. Guess what? Now you've got all this extra horsepower on a basically stock clutch. Probably isn't going to last long. It might. I don't know. Chances are probably not. You've got a transmission, if you still have a T5, that's way outside of its league. If you have an AOD, especially way outside of its league, they can't hardly handle stock power. So that's gonna end up being an issue. To take advantage of all this extra power, guess what? You're gonna need gears. Hey, not a problem. Maybe you already have gears. So, that's a slippery slope. When you continue to add horsepower, you continue to add things that you're going to need to take full advantage of that power, and to not do that is just basically wasting it. So, the true cost to totally take advantage of a heads cam intake is not just everything that you need under the hood, but it's everything to make all of that work. You need a stronger clutch. You're gonna need a stronger transmission. You're gonna need more gear. You're gonna need more fuel. You're gonna need all of that fantastic stuff. And I think a lot of that gets missed when we dive in heads first and let's throw a heads cam intake on our Fox body. Okay, so let's continue. At this point, what do you have? You have your heads cam intake, you got a decent clutch, your trans is holding for the moment, maybe. You've got gears, got exhaust, got enough fuel to handle that. What do you got? On a stock block, stock bore stroke, or like a 306, you're going to be doing very well to have around 320 horsepower, which isn't a lot, and you'll get very used to it and very bored with it almost immediately. So now let's not forget all the money we've spent already to be at a power level that you're already bored with. And I'm telling you right now, you will get bored with it quick. It happens all the time. That's why everybody's always looking at strokers or bigger turbos or bigger blowers or smaller pulleys or all those things, because once you get to a certain, if you go from 200 horsepower to 300 horsepower, it'll take you about a week to get used to it. 300 to 400 horsepower, and maybe you'll enjoy it for 2 weeks. It is a slippery slope, and I promise you, you will get tired of it. So then what? Yeah, you're bored with your horsepower. Damn it! After all that money, am I really freaking bored with my horsepower? Yeah, you will. Trust me, I'm telling you from experience, and you guys that are the OG Fox guys that watch my videos, you know exactly what it's all about. So, what do you do at that point? Do you do a stroker? Do you do a turbo? Do you do a supercharger? Guess what? Here comes more money. Guess what? You need stronger drivetrain components. Again, guess what? You need more fuel. You need more spark. You need all of those fantastic things, and then you have to get the car retuned. So let's just say that you're ready for the next level. Let's say we're going with a Vortex supercharger. Love them things. So let's go back to LMR and let's price out basically everything you're gonna need to really get that running. And that's not just the supercharger, so don't even look at the MSRP of just the blower, because that ain't all you gotta get. Say you want to do just a supercharger by itself, and guys, this is the base of the base, and this might, and I say might, on a stock engine get you 300 horsepower. Might. You'll still need the injectors and all of that, so go ahead and plan $4,500 plus on this if you're putting it on a stock engine. Now, if you're wanting to pile on with heads, cam, and intake, guess what? You can add our $5,000 total before with this, and after tax, after shipping, and everything else that goes along with it, you're going to be a little over $10,000, and that's supercharger, heads, cam, intake, and all of the accompanying mods that you're going to need. So yeah, you're starting to see the cost now. But let's just say, for instance, you're like, no, I'm not going to do a supercharger. That's way too much money. I'm just going to do a stroker. So a 331, a 347, something like that, which is about the extent of what you're going to do with a stock block. You can buy stroker kits and assemble them yourselves and have the machine work done. Or you can buy a crate engine. Either way, you're going to be very pricey. And then you get to change all of that you've just installed on the engine, which is going to cost you more gaskets and more time and all of that. And we're all assuming that you're doing this work yourself. So we're not even talking labor if you're not doing the wrenching yourself. So what are you going to pick up from a stroker? You're going to do all right, just depending on what your top end setup is. We'll say 50 to 60 horsepower, and that's a good conservative number based on all the dynos I've ever seen. You're going to pick up 50 to 60 horsepower, and that's assuming that you have a decent top end. If you don't have a decent top end kit, not flowing enough air, guess what? You're going to have to buy bigger heads, buy a better cam, and buy a higher flowing intake. All right, I get it. You're sick and tired of it, and you're ready to just go balls to the wall. So you're gonna do a stroker, a top end kit, and a supercharger. Let's go back to LMR again, and let's price all this stuff out. Just giving you the best information I possibly can. I did a bunch of searches looking for 347. So obviously you can buy a kit. Well, I've called multiple machine shops trying to get a rough estimate, and there's a lot of questions they have. What kind of kit, what kind of shapes the block in, blah 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 blah. It could be this much, it could be that much. Some of them are 3 months out, one was 6 months out, on and on. And this is all stuff that you have to have if you're gonna spend, you're like, oh, $2,000 for a stroker kit. Yeah, that's not too bad, but you got to have the engine board, you got to have it notched for the crank, you got to have it line honed, decked, cleaned, all of that. And so you're looking at probably another $1,500 to $2,000 in machine work to get that done. And at that point, you still have to assemble this thing. And if you want them to assemble it, guess what? You're going to pay even more. Just doing some searches and stuff, prices are all over the map. I have a really difficult time finding anybody that was wanting to do a stock block 347. And like I said, it's pretty crazy. And you look at crate engine prices for a 347, and guess what? Well, let's just say a 302 is going to be 10 grand. 347, now this is obviously a fully dressed engine, but it's 12 grand, and I'm just not having a whole lot of luck finding exactly what I'm looking for. Jegs had some, Summit had some, most of them were dart block, and then of course you don't know what pistons, what rods, all of those other things. So if you're gonna go ahead and do the stroker and you want to try and build it yourself, just be prepared that you're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops. Maybe you know somebody that does machine work that could make life easier for you. If you do, that's great. If not, I would just go ahead and probably try and find a short block. So at that point, we'll just say minimum $5,000. You're going to be in that range, whether you try to build it yourself. And honestly, I couldn't find a short block under that. That's a refurb off of eBay. I mean, are you going to trust that? I don't know. Don't know anything about these guys. So you've got a lot of different options. None of them, we'll just say $5,000 at a minimum for your short block. And then again, you're going to add, well, it cleared out. You're going to add the $5,000 plus we already had in the cart. So now at this point, you're over $10,000 for heads, cam, intake, and a short block 347 stroker. All right. So you're starting to see where I'm going with this. Guys, look, building cars is not for the faint of heart, and it's definitely not for a budget. Using the term budget with a car build just doesn't make any sense. There's nothing budget about building a car. It's labor intensive, it's expensive, and very time consuming, and you got to be prepared for that on the front end. I get it, we all want horsepower, but when we talk about engine swaps like Coyotes or Godzillas or Windsors, if you look at the cost of doing those versus what we've just discussed, you're going to be pretty damn close. And I mean that literally. So At the end of the day, what I want you to do is map out your build. The reason I think it's so important to map out your build is because you can continue to pile on different things, and at the end of the day end up with something that you totally didn't want. Yeah, you wanted something fast. Yeah, you wanted something that sounded good, and you know, all of the other things that go along with building a car. But the end game can be very different than what you're looking for. If the car is wound up all the time, if the drivability is garbage, if you're constantly running into problems, you're going to hate your car. And sure, it's fast, and sure, it's got a great cam chop, but are you going to actually enjoy driving the car? Guys, have you ever wondered why you see so many badass builds on Facebook Marketplace for sale? It's because they created a monster. Plain and simple. They created something that in their mind was what they wanted, but at the end of the day, it was a total pain in the ass to drive, to maintain, and the enjoyment, just the smiles per gallon, just was not there. And seen it happen a million times. I've done it myself, and trust me, it's very, very disheartening to end up in that position after all the time, all the money, and all the work. So to wrap this one up, boys, I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice. Number one, go talk to somebody that's got what you're trying to build and ask them how do they like it. You might be surprised. You'll probably be surprised. See if they like it. See if they enjoy driving it. What kind of problems are they having? Does it meet all of their expectations? That'll give you a very good real-world idea if that is truly what you want. Next thing you need to do is you need to consider what you do with the car. Do you drive it a lot? Do you cruise it a lot? Are you one of those that enjoy working on a car more than driving it? Do you take it to car shows? Do you race it regularly? You need to build on what you enjoy doing with the car. Some guys prefer car shows, some prefer drag racing, some like autocross, some do a little bit of everything. But you need to build it the way you want it. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope you do your own homework. Don't build something that you're going to end up hating. Think that crap through. Talk to your people and think about what you use the car for. How do you enjoy the car? And I promise you, you'll be a lot happier at the end of the day. Not everybody needs 400 horsepower, 500 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower. All those levels come with different problems. They come with different complications and things that at the end of the day may very well make you hate the fact that you did it and want to sell your car. I don't want you to do that. So if you found this video helpful, please drop me a big thumbs up. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Get you on the next one.